The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Bye, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Lines are open. Open line today. Call 66 13 68. Email studio@manxradio.com. Text 166 177, or you can WhatsApp on 166 177 as well. So the EasyJet didn't happen last night then. And didn't they say that it was because the plane would have been out of hours, or the kind of operating crew would have been out of hours? Then they say it's because our airport wouldn't stay open in time. What's the straight story about that? So it's finally going to be arriving shortly. And also yesterday, I don't know whether you spotted, due to circumstances beyond the post office's control, no air meal was received yesterday. Priority items, including special delivery and Parcel Force 24, weren't delivered. Local to local sea mail, all unaffected. And so there was no mail dispatched yesterday, meaning mail collected yesterday will be dispatched today. The special delivery guarantee was suspended yesterday. Thank the Lord we're leaving airmail then, and we're going to sea mail, because at least we can rely on the boat when they've figured out what to do with Douglas Harbour, that is. Oh, just a quick note tonight, if you're in Peel, or even if you're not and you're interested, Ramsey Motorcycle Club is putting on a beach cross event in Peel this evening in aid of the RNLI. Starts at 7 o'clock tonight, so hopefully the weather will have brightened up by then tonight. 7 o'clock, Peel Beach, Ramsey Motorcycle Club's beach cross event. And single-use plastic. Does this cover tear-off visors for TT or MGP? Well, I don't know. Depends. What do you think? Maybe they'll send somebody around picking them up and close the mountain road for it. I've got a note in also regarding yesterday. Richie just said informative comments on Erie Stain by the Manx back group yesterday. They at least know of what they speak. So to protect that particular environment and its wildlife, I object to a wind farm there at Erie Stain. But I'm very much in favour of wind farms in general. Many feel the same. After all, we did elect those who favoured green policies. Quite right, Richie. Everybody said, didn't they? In fact, possibly there was only one that didn't have green policies right at the top of their polished, colour-printed manifesto. Something needs to be done sharpish, says Richie. But why develop onshore wind here when, situated as we are, offshore wind can do the job? Is it so that Kroger can operate in the sea area in which an offshore wind farm could otherwise possibly be? Does somebody have a plan? Well, there is a plan for Ørsted to put one there, and it apparently will earn us lots and lots of money. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. In fact, we're waiting to see for quite a lot, aren't we? Thank you, Paul, who dropped me a note in. Just returned from the MGP as a regular visitor. I enjoyed the event, and I think the races were excellent. Top-class performances from established stars as well as newcomers. Paul says, my main concern over the delays we experienced due to weather. I think the MMCC and the clerk of the course should look at what is practical to try and keep the event to schedule, as I know that speaking with a number of first-time visitors, they won't be coming back. Before the last race of the event, the Classic Superbike, we were told over the radio that the clerk of the course was waiting for the optimum race conditions. Well, many years ago, with the exception of low cloud on the mountain, competitors used to start at the allocated time in the programme and race on wet roads. Even newcomers for early morning practice. Crikey, do you remember early morning practice? That was a struggle. The Classic Superbike race could have been declared an open race, giving competitors the chance to choose tyres. That's part of the skill of racing. We all care for the safety of riders, but I feel that we're more interested in chasing lap records than the actual racing itself. Thank you, Paul. Interesting points of view. And blimey, do you remember early morning practice? That was something else. Never stopped Jeff Cannell, though, did it? Oh, a quick word about Beach Buddies this weekend. They got a big clean-up job on their hand. The first visit to the northwest coast of the Isle of Man. The bird nesting season is officially over. So Beach Buddies are at Smale, southern end of Smale, Sunday morning, 10:30, finishing at 12 noon. So if you want to nip up there, if you want to go to, they've got a beachbuddies.net is their website. It'll tell you where you can make donations and get involved, and they'll tell you where they're actually going this weekend. But at the southern end of Smale, now that the nesting season is over. Thanks also to the correspondent who dropped me a note in regarding the wind turbines and the amount of toxic fall off there is. There's been lots of chat about this, the toxic paint that's supposed to come off the blades. Mind you, it was interesting yesterday. Did you hear John talking about the fact that lots of people are against it, lots of people are for it, will probably do it? I was also interested, we were talking in the office this morning about do you remember the arguments that went over the new the energy from waste plant when that first arrived, and everybody thought it was a bad idea. We were all going to be contracting cancer from what came out of the top of the chimney, and it is just silently, chuffed away over the past 20-odd years, and there it is, the incinerator. Dermot dropped me a note in regarding Peel Power Station there. Having listened to the subject come up on Mannin Line, I'd like to add my response to this. The cloud, however, concerns me, as this was somebody said that Peel Power Station was fired up recently and it was chugging out smoke. This concerns me as a person who scales Peel Hill daily for exercise. It's used for many well-known Peel citizens, more elderly than myself, for exercise, and no matter what you may be, it will force you to breathe deeply and to run a sweat if you leg it up Peel Hill. This last 2 weeks or so, fairly thick smoke has been coming towards from the power station daily, constant till 9 p.m.-ish, and blowing, luckily, sometimes towards Peel or generally away from the hill, but sometimes not. As the hill is much higher than the stack, it's only a matter of time when the wind blows towards the hill and Corrin Folly that the full amount of fumes coming from this will be very heavy in the air, where people will be breathing their hardest, having walked or run up Peel Hill. If this is to be a permanent thing, I suggest a light on the stack that's active when the wind is blowing this way, and advise those that are on the hill that the air may not be safe. It would be worth somebody testing, maybe using the Folly, to ensure levels. I may be wrong about the fumes. They may be harmless, but the colour suggests otherwise. I live near the Peel Power Station, and the last few weeks my backyard sounds like somebody testing a subwoofer, as the properties are a collection of thin stone yards with no gaps in the terrace. You couldn't comfortably be outside the back for too long, as the very low bass wobble is uncomfortable. I've got sound-cancelling headphones so I can work from home fine, but I couldn't stand this if it were to happen overnight. Crossing my fingers for sensible solutions. Do you know about this? Do you live in Peel? Have you spotted the smoke coming out of the chimney stack at Peel Power Station? So, what do you think about it? What on earth is happening there? Oh, Julian's with us. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. The low frequencies. Imagine a 116,000 square foot subwoofer, or 5 of them. That would make a lot of noise, wouldn't it, when it's rattling your roof and keeping you up at night?
Well, nobody.
And by the way,
nobody knows what will happen, though, do they? We don't know until it's built.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Prevention's better than cure. By the way, you mentioned the single-use plastics ban. Will that apply to the 1,000 pounds of microplastics that's going to be shed off the turbines if they get put up? In which case, they shouldn't be put up.
Well, the other thing is it's not going to apply to the plastic glasses during TT, apparently, in the beer tent.
Oh, right, okay. Just before my subject, I noticed there's a couple of new appointees coming to the island. And I think yesterday on the Manx radio, there was the appointment first of the Department of Health and Social Care's new Chief Officer, Paul Richardson.
Yes.
I noticed he has something in common with his predecessor, Henrietta Hewitt, a qualification in history. Paul's being an MA in modern history from Oxford University, and then followed by a career in management at the NHS, and then since 2018, Head of Governance and Accountability alongside the UK Secretary of State in Whitehall, which is quite a lofty position. And I think today was mentioned in the today's Manx Independent, and Megan Matthias, who's coming over from Jersey to deliver on government programmes and initiatives. And she broke off from a University of Warwick governance thing to go and get her qualification from the Mohammed bin Rashid School of Government in the United Arab Emirates. So sounds like some heavy hitters are coming here.
Well, we'll see, won't we? Obviously, Paul Richardson, I mean, he sounds like he's very happy to be here. He grew up in Lancaster, apparently, and has got lots of friends here.
Hope it's not some sort of a done deal. It kind of implies that these people are here to get things done, doesn't it?
Well, we'll wait and see, won't we?
Yeah. I was going to talk about a change of an acronym. We've mentioned this, and Juan's mentioned this a few times, ESG, or Environmental, Social and Corporate Governance. But I'd like to concentrate for a minute on the environment part of that E in the ESG, in relation to the lady who made a point at the recent Erie Stane Wind Farm meeting in Ballabeg about companies leaving the island if we don't abide by the green initiatives as laid down by ESG, which in turn is the thing that makes you comply with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which is all part of the United Nations Agenda 2030. And I noticed that some of the people that were the first on board with all this some years ago were KPMG, you had Deloitte, Ernst & Young, JP Morgan, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and quite a few others. And I think at the moment worldwide there's about 285 financial institutions. And then you've got the Net Zero Banking Alliance, which includes 133 banks, and a few we might have heard of are Barclays, HSBC, Lloyds, Standard Chartered, UBS, NatWest Group, Royal Bank of Scotland. But I've noticed that this ESG acronym has come under some fire for changing the financial industry's calculations, which always used to be based on objective, real-world financial data for the benefits of shareholders. And the ESG has sort of changed it to subjective sort of calculations like climate change and gender and diversity and equity. And the ESG-compliant companies, institutions and governments have been seeing large downturns in their financial yields recently. And part of this, I think, is due to, say, the huge losses that are currently occurring in green energy industries. And examples of this is like the Boreas wind farm, the vast one that we're going to put at Norfolk, by Vattenfall, the Swedish company, which has collapsed. Also, the largest financial loss, I think, in history is Siemens with their Gamesa offshore wind turbine warranty claims costing them $5 billion in the last quarter, I believe. Okay,
so how do you think this affects us, though, Julian? I mean, what implications does it have for the Isle of Man?
Well, your problem is, on the island, if you go around the likes of Circular Road, Hope Street, Athol Street, it's heavily populated with all the companies that are signing up to this, and they all have something similar. For example, if you go on Deloitte's website, ESG is now changing its acronym to something called CRM. And it always used to mean, for years, anyone that's in the business, it always used to mean customer relationship management, but it's quietly been turned into climate risk management. Now, Deloitte's website is stating how a firm addresses issues of climate change will play a vital role in attracting and retaining customers, which kind of sounds like a veiled threat a bit. Banks should reassess their credit business strategies to address climate change issues, the market segments and clients they will serve. Almost all of these corporate financial institutions, and there's all of them, even just a nameplate on a wall, are all represented on the island. And the island, of course, its primary income, really, from tax take and everything else, is financial services. But recently, the Harvard Business Review has published a headline, "An ESG reckoning is coming." And Bloomberg has had one recently, "The ESG bubble is about to burst," which gives pause for thought, especially when you consider the trajectory of the island going for wind energy, when it seems that there's massive amounts of investment from companies which seem to be subservient to the big three, which is BlackRock, State Street and Vanguard. But an awful lot of these people that are listening on the Mannin Line right now, if they've got any kind of managed wealth portfolios or private pensions or anything like that, if Bloomberg and the Harvard Business School are correct, there could be some big tsunami coming their way if there is a big backlash against ESG.
Okay, all right.
That could be a big problem.
Appreciate it, June. Thanks for that. Good to hear from you. Climate, what was it?
Andy.
Climate something management, what was it? Climate. Anyway, Tony's on with us now. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah.
Are your earplugs taken out at last?
No. I'm watching for the rain. The rain's supposed to be arriving, but I can't see it.
It's coming around. I've got a few spits here. Right. What I wanted to talk about was, I don't want to discuss climate change because it's already decided that that's what we've got to do. We've got to save the world. What I want to do is, there's a conundrum. And I'd like somebody somewhere, particularly the Green Party chairman, whoever he is, that says it's going to be a better world when we have electric, and also the UN man in charge who thinks that the world should do what he says. How are you going to get on with the fact that you destroy your biosphere by putting wind farms up? Secondly, how does the UN Sustainable Development fit in with destroying the environment of indigenous people all over the world, mining for cobalt and lithium, and destroying the environment, I might add? And how is that going to give us a better world in the wider sense? Not a better Isle of Man, a better world. So anybody that thinks it's great to drive an electric car and it's sustainable and everything else should have a think about all those people who are suffering so they can drive a humming car. Just a thought.
What's your opinion? You say that, obviously this has been decided by people way above our pay grades, which direction it's going politically and economically as well, as June was talking about, the big finance groups. So, what do you think? How do you think we're going to navigate our way through it?
Well, I don't think we will, because the government's already made its mind up. They've already decided we will be net zero by a certain date, without telling us how they're going to get there. Plus the fact, if you think about it, they are not referencing anybody else in the calculation of what damage they do in getting there. I don't think there's a way forward for anybody who complains, because they basically don't want anybody who complains or says that's not the right thing to do. They only want people who say yes, yes, yes. They go on about the biosphere. How does that fit with killing wild birds with wind farms onshore?
Interestingly, we've not really heard a word from the biosphere people as to what their opinion is of putting up wind farms onshore. Well,
I just... One minute we are the most beautiful place in the world in the biosphere. Next second, we're going to put wind farms up. We're going to kill birds in hundreds, not one or two. And we're also going to pollute the environment. How does that fit with the biosphere? How does UN Sustainable Development fit with letting children mine cobalt in Africa? How does it fit with environmental damage to people who are living in Argentina and across whole South America, in fact, who are having their lands ripped up to mine lithium? And it's all so that you can make money out of building lithium-ion batteries.
Maybe we file that under out of sight, out of mind, Tony.
Yeah, I think there's a way forward, but the government's not willing to listen. The way forward is to go for things like that are non-environmentally damaging, like drilling for hot rock, which gives you what you want. Go ahead and build some more reservoirs. Electric from dams is clean, because it's rain. So there's lots of things they could do, but none of them fit in with the corporate desire of their friends that have given them advice. corporate desire is
of course,
to spend money.
And I think we're all coming to the conclusion that business and industry will follow where the money is and will slide in like Mercury to follow, where they can make a living, because there are certain parts of industry that are having their income streams chopped off. So and we're caught in the middle. We have politics on one side, business on the other, and we're in the middle.
I don't disagree, Andy, but the issue, you can't get any influence with the government because they're not listening. If you say anything to anybody, say you should do this, or what about this, what you get is, we're not looking at that. Why? Because we've already decided what we're going to do. We just haven't told you. And we would have put a £200 million undersea cable in to bring clean electricity. Where are you going to get it from? Because the UK is going to run out of clean electricity. So what's going to happen then? It's just ridiculous. It's just a round robin of how can we spend money, and then Bonzo comes on and says, we can rent the seabed. Yeah, but the money you get from that will have to pay for the electricity that's coming in, because they're not bringing that electricity to the Isle of Man. If they were bringing it to the Isle of Man directly, I'd be very happy. I think that's a fine thing to do. It's just we are not thinking about this on the basis of the damage we are doing to the world. We're thinking about it as a lot wish I could have from a party that is already set in its ways. Okay. The Green Party won't listen to anybody. All right, Tony. I just think there's a whole slew of stuff that could be done that's not being discussed.
All right, appreciate it, Tony. Thanks for calling.
You take care. All the best, Andy. Bye.
Good to hear from you. Interestingly enough, I noted in Jersey, they've got a new initiative in Jersey whereby islanders can get £3,500 towards buying a new or used electric car or van. It's the launch of the new Government of Jersey initiative scheme designed to support the Jerry's with making the switch away from petrol and diesel modes of transport. Of course, Jersey's tiny. What is it, 3 miles by 5 miles? So you're never going to have a problem with running out of juice on Jersey. The financial support can be used on vehicles costing up to $40,000 and can be accessed through approved retailers. It's for 35% of the vehicle cost, up to a maximum of £3,500. Also, you get £300 off the price of an electric moped or electric motorcycle through the scheme for mopeds and motorbikes under £5,000. To coincide with the launch, people in Jersey can also access £350 towards the installation of a charger at their home or small business, which can be applied for and installed via the scheme's approved electricians. It was approved. The incentives were allocated last year in April 2022 for the carbon neutral roadmap agreed by the State's Assembly in Jersey, setting Jersey on a path for net zero by 2050. How about that? Think it'll work here? David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. And telling you off, it is the energy for waste because it makes 6 megawatts and shumps it into the grid for us to enjoy.
I'm just writing that down. 6 megawatts. Okay.
It's about 6. I think it's about 6 megawatts. So probably somebody will correct me on that.
Do you remember the arguments that went over the energy from waste plant, and it was going to poison half of Pulrose and this, that, and the other, and it's just chugged merrily away.
And it's the same with Iris, isn't it? And now Luke Peel's now decided to do the thing they were offered years ago. They should have done it, in my opinion, 6-7 years ago, and bit the bullet, and we'd have it done for them. Laxey, and I hope don't upset anybody from Laxey there, they need to have some reality checks there and just get the thing done. They've been offered a solution, and maybe not the perfect one. Everybody wants something perfect, but there is a solution there. It's on government land. They could move forward. Don't be like Peel. They waited another 10 years for things to happen. But I forgot to mention, Andy, yesterday when I was talking about sites, and I know it's not in the gift of the government, but the Lord Street flats are all there empty.
And boarded up as well, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wondered, wouldn't it be an opportunity for the government maybe to take the far end one that's near the car park end? there's probably about 10 or 12 on the bay. Some of them are perfect. Some of them are excellent. I used to work at the corporation. Some of them were like little palaces, and of course we did have a few that were really awful. But that was because we didn't encourage people to live in a different way, or make sure social services come in and get these things done. We need to do something. Like, I'm not saying that I just wonder what the Liberal Vannons are actually doing when the minister comes on. It'd be interesting to see what policies they're going to bring forward, and what is he trying to achieve for us to help us all out.
I'm trying to remember, what were they called? They were the wards of Douglas, weren't they? There's Derby House.
Yeah, Athol. What was there? There was all sorts of wards there. There were communities years gone past, and even at Pulrose there now. I know quite a lot of people there, but I don't think they're communities anymore, and I don't know how we can get round that to bring those communities back. There needs to be politicians and councillors to say, look, we are part of a community, do something, see what the kids want for the future. I mean, I love it all the time. I've been down Blackberry Lane this morning, 65 children from Oaken, Douglas and roundabout playing football, having lunch at dinner time on the grass. Now, do you remember when we used to have picnics? You go out on your bike for hours on end. You go out somewhere as much as you can, sit on the grass, have your picnic and come back, and your mother and father didn't worry about you.
Okay.
But can I just say, I'd love John to give us a ring. He gave us a great steer the other day. He's got a turbine. I'd love to come and visit him. Or if I get my community bus out, we'll come and have a visit. Hopefully he'll give us a cup of tea, and we'll show people what things are like.
All right.
You know, I'd love to. The other final thing is, if we're not going to have turbines down south, and the government have got to do something for national need, and you've got to put that in the back of your mind, national need, we've got to do something. And if the millionaire fella down like south is putting PV panels in, let's support the guy.
Okay, all right.
And do it.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for being with us today. The story about Lord Street Flats. What on earth is happening there? Do you remember Dandara built those 70 flats just further up Peel Road, made a fine job of them, looking nice between... I think it's number 41 Peel Road and the former Wool Control Centre. So Dandara at the time said the apartment blocks were nearing the end of their lifespan, the ones on Lord Street, and the development will potentially provide Douglas Borough Council a place to relocate tenants of Lord Street premises. But nobody's said, well, there'll be possibly some good news about what's going to happen to Lord Street. By the way, a lady's called in, just wants to know what's happened to Wiltshire Farm Foods. They do meals for people who are confined to barracks, as it were, people who are homebound. She hasn't been able to raise them on the phone today. No answer. She's worried there's something wrong, and of course it's very important to her and perhaps other people. So does anybody know what's happened to Wiltshire Farm Foods?
Hi, I've never been on Mannin Line before, but the Island Line government have been on about buy Manx, buy local, stay on the island. My friend was at the VIP tent at the Grand Prix, and an English catering company supplied everything. Is that buying Manx? I don't think so.
Is that true? Was it an English catering company at the VIP tent?
Housing, benefits or employment issues, faulty goods, bad workmanship, financial problems and relationship breakdowns. We all run into difficulties in life, and it can feel like there's no one who can help you sort them out. But at Manx Citizens Advice Service, we can help. As an independent charity, we offer free, confidential support covering all sorts of areas. You don't need an appointment. Just call in at Promenade Church, Loch Promenade, Douglas, or call 366 338. Open Tuesdays from 12:30 till 3 and Fridays 10 till 12:30. Manx Citizens Advice Service. Your advice service.
Everyone's more conscious of energy usage nowadays. So Manx Utilities has begun installing smart meters for standard domestic customers island-wide. With our Smart Living app available too, you'll be in control of tracking and managing your energy. No need to contact us. We'll be in touch when we're ready to fit your smart meter. Visit the Smarter Living page at manxutilities.in. Manx Utilities, delivering a smarter future.
6 incredible albums and a worldwide record deal have made Nathan Carter one of country music's brightest stars. And now you can catch him live at the Gaiety Theatre on September 14th. Book now for Nathan Carter and his band with special guest Claudia Buckley at villagaiety.com or on 600 treble 5. Presented by RS Promotions and supported by your nation station, Manx Radio.
Gilg 2, Gilg J as Gilg Nera.
Avashenrish.
A Gilg, the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Vannin, the Isle of Man.
Avashenrish.
You can catch up with more of Manx Radio's Manx language programmes in the weekly podcast Abershenrish. Say that again.
Avashenrish.
Shene, that's the one.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Oh, by the way, I've got some great news about Abershen. Do you remember Abershen, the Manx Radio? It was the Manx language tapes.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
Tell you more about that shortly, but Bonzo's on. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello there, yes. Okay, where shall I start? All right, I'll start with replying to Tony. On the Alstead wind farm. Now, it may very well be that during the summer, or at least one would sort of cross fingers and hope so, that Isle of Man government have perhaps been in talks with Alstead about some kind of agreement whereby they can draw power from any extension to Walney that they then make in Manx waters in Crogger, essentially, which would essentially be sort of the third part of the Walney wind farm, and that they would then perhaps pay for a connector in return for something like a 5% discount on the annual seabed leasing fee. So that may be a possibility. We shall see if the Minister for Infrastructure, in particular, Mr. Cannon, has actually gone and done something about that. Coming on to... Oh, sorry, you wanted to reply?
No, I was just going to say... But I think the majority of people, I was just saying, lay people don't quite understand why there's a gap in this. If we have the possibility, if we own the seabed, if we can lease it out, if we can make money out of it, and there's a company that wants to do it, and I think, did they sign the agreement? Well, it was Dong Energy then, wasn't it, that they signed it back in 2014. So if it's there and it can be done, and it's going to make us money, surely that's a no-brainer. We should just be doing it.
Well, there have been certain issues about access to UK markets from Manx territorial waters, from the energy generated from that. So that's been a bit of a sticking block, and that's needed to be negotiated with UK. That, I believe, has been sorted out,
right,
essentially, so that now that makes the idea of the wind farm viable, because otherwise, if you can't take the power, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
So, given that, then it's just a question of negotiating the terms, and then asking, or requiring as part of the terms that Alstead then provide us.
It's taken an awfully long time, though, Bonzo, hasn't it? It's taken an awfully long time.
Well, yes, but that's because of the issue of territoriality that we've had, in that the UK renewables regime was governed completely differently to anything that we would do on the Isle of Man, and of course the Isle of Man weren't included in that regime, so they couldn't really take power from any wind farm that was here. So what would be the point of doing it? So that's one issue. But then coming on to the issue with the Southern Wind Farm proposals and Julian's usual conflation with the natural concerns of people who are having wind turbines placed near them, with the grand plot of the World Economic Forum, New World Order, UN-imposed environmental social governance grand dictatorship plan. Well, that's nonsense. And I fear that I say perfectly reasonable protests of people who are or have reservations or rejections to the Southern Wind Farm are being hijacked by the likes of Julian and Juan and others in order to push their general anti-woke, anti-climate action, conservative agendas.
Well, just let me put that alongside of the fact, and we're talking about the length of time it's taken to organise an offshore wind farm in Manx waters, in Manx territorial waters, and access to the UK energy market. We are told at great volume that there's a climate crisis, the word crisis, which would seem to imply that we need to do something fairly rapidly. So the progress of the Manx offshore wind farm, I think, has been anything but rapid, Bonzo. So how do you square that?
Oh, very easily. Firstly, UK, of course, being complicated about these things, because if you then design one exception for somebody, then somebody else will ask for an exception.
Right.
Secondly, though I think it was very it could be sort of seen pretty much from space, that the previous Environment Minister, DEFRA Minister, Geoffrey Boot, and perhaps some of his very senior civil servants were absolutely dead set against doing anything. These negotiations, which were supposedly in train, very, very little, as you say, if anything, happened from them. And I think that the claims of such negotiations may indeed have been spurious.
And so my point is then that the vast majority of people, the layperson, person listening to this now, will just say, we've heard these people bickering for years and years and years. One side saying yes, one side saying no, and nothing has happened. So the layperson can surely be forgiven for thinking that it's not really that important.
Yeah, well, that's why the Climate Change Act put in an obligation for at least, not just for, which seems to be the Cannon administration's idea of how much renewables there should be, but at least 30 megawatts of renewable. And it gave it a time limit by the end of 2026 in order to stop this kind of eternal finding ways not to do things.
Well,
so yes. Well, next month's government conference might be rather interesting, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, Bonzo, always appreciated. Thanks for calling.
Okay, cheers.
Good
Bye.
to hear from you.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
The late Doug Farragher. Crikey, what a voice. Abershen was one of Manx Radio's most popular. It was cassettes, first of all, I think, and then on CDs. It was, of course, learning to speak Manx. Dr. Brian Stoll, my friend, the late Brian Stoll, was involved. It was published, I think, in Manx Heritage here in 1986, reissued by the Gaelic Broadcasting Commission. It's now available. Don't have to buy it. It's free of charge. Abershen, which of course is Manx for Say That, Starting to Speak Manx, is available as a podcast, absolutely free of charge. And the first bulletin, the first episode, the first lesson is up now at manxradio.com. Click on podcasts and then click on Abershen, and there you are.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
You get more than you think, but all that you need when you
shop local with EVF.
Because your local EVF filling station isn't just a place for fuel, it's where you can get delicious food to go. Chilled drinks, wines and beers, barbecue and summer essentials, from ice creams to surfboards, plus a great range of local products. Ellen Mannin Fuels. Fill up, fuel up, and get all you need to go. Open till late.
Shop local with EVF.
We all use technology in our cars and homes. Why wouldn't you embrace it for running your business? At Nicola Bowker & Co, we help you understand the latest business tech, allowing you to spend more time running your business. Nicola Bowker & Co.
Oh! Problems with your spine and posture can have a serious effect on your quality of life, but a Line for Life spine clinic could help. If you're suffering from back pain, neck pain, headaches, their holistic scientific approach could find and treat the root cause of the problem for long-lasting relief. Touch A Line for Life now or call 629 444. A Line for Life, the island's spine and posture clinic, here to make life better.
I'm Mike Buttle. Join me tonight on Manx Radio at 6 for a second series of journeys on our fantastic heritage railways. This time I'm looking at the Manx Electric Railway. I'll be talking to some of the workers who keep the trams running, taking a trip to Groudle on the world's oldest operating tramcar, and getting an enthusiast perspective on the MER. Oh, and I'll be attempting to find out which came first, the Manx Electric sign in Douglas or the Hollywood sign in California. That's tonight at 6 or available online at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Just a quick note in John in Laxey. Big John says, point of fact, motorcycles are quicker now and riding on wet roads isn't good with today's high-performance bikes. So my opinion, cancel races due to bad weather is good for the safety of riders. Phil said, Peel Power Station, yes, the smokeless chimney that was promised years ago is pumping out smoke. Remember, the incinerator was built on the back of burning waste with European grants. Didn't happen because we weren't in the EU. Rushing through wind power, of course, won't have any of these problems. Private wind turbines, like the one the gentleman was talking about yesterday, are far smaller, not intrusive like the huge ones the government is planning on desecrating our beautiful island, says Mary in Ramsey. And I just want to make things something very, very clear. When I said the late Brian Stoll just a few moments ago, I didn't mean this Brian Stoll. So I'm very happy to say he's alive and well and vibrant. Hi, Brian.
You're one of the few that are celebrating my extended life, Andy. Not many people do that. Oh, how are you? I've got a friend of mine over at the moment. He's been at sea for most of his working life. He's chief engineer, and he's due to go out to Curacao to join a ship very soon. A lot of his life he spent on ships laying cables for wind farms. So we've had a great chat about the implications and all sorts. So he's been educating me on that. But I don't want to talk about that. I took him to the airport last night, and this is just for information. I'm not going to moan or make recommendations. I took him to the airport last night to catch the EasyJet flight. Before we left, he very kindly put all his washing in the washing machine and washed all his bedding, and I ran down to the airport and dropped him off, and I came home, and when I got home, I found that the flight had been cancelled. So we've had to go down and pick him up again, and now he's here, and he's catching the flight this afternoon, which has now been delayed. We have to do the bedding again. His wife drove up to pick him up from Gatwick, and she's had to go back, and she's coming up again today to pick him up. And, of course, we've lost a couple of days with all the shiftying around, and I can't understand how that's helping the planet at all. So, if you're thinking of going across to Gatwick, apparently 50% of the EasyJet flights to Gatwick, particularly late on in the day, are cancelled. We just got to accept this now, haven't we?
Well, it just seems we're caught at the thick end of this, and I think it's partly because during COVID, a lot of the regional airlines got squeezed out. Now, there are very few regional airlines, and when people say we should invite other people to do it, they aren't out there. There aren't regional airlines like there used to be around the UK, so we're stuck with EasyJet.
But to every problem, there has to be a solution. And that starts with people in government looking carefully at the problem and trying to find a way to ease it or resolve it. The Isle of Man needs clear, concise, and regular communication with the United Kingdom, and we're falling short there. And I listened to David again. If we ever get harmony in Onken commissioners, that would be a step in the right direction. I mean, the battle royal is still going on. They're all going to be pushing their heads above the parapet to go to Keys at the next election. But on their track record, they're unelectable. Come on, boys. Get your heads together. Stop squandering our money on your bickering. Get your heads together and do what you were elected to do.
Okay.
Look after our well-being. Thanks, Andy.
Sorry, Brian, what are your rates for doing bedding, by the way?
I'm very, very cheap, as always. You've often said you're very cheap, Stowell, but still alive.
All right, thanks for calling today. Yes, this morning's inbound EasyJet 9:55 was delayed till 21 minutes past 10, and the Gatwick this afternoon inbound at the outbound this morning, was delayed. The 5 to 10 was delayed until 21 minutes past 10, and the 25 past 2 to Gatwick is delayed until 10 to 3. It goes on, doesn't it? Nothing can be done, says Alec, with the Lord Street flats. Apparently, this is Skeet, by the way, so don't take it as read. Alec says there's structural problems with Shoresbrow car park. It said the result is there are only about 100 brick ties in the whole building. So are the walls peeling away from the concrete structure? I don't know. These are Alec's words, so we don't know. The vibration of Lord Street flats being demolished would cause all sorts of problems for Shoresbrow. Well, we'll see. You recently ran a news article regarding Amex, American Express, and concluded the letters received by Isle of Man residents informing that their credit card accounts were being closed were sent in error, says Sean. But I have since received emails and letters from Amex saying my account will be closed. Earlier this week I spoke to Amex and they once again confirmed that those in Crown dependencies were unaffected. Having received another letter regarding termination today, I phoned them again and they've confirmed that all accounts held by those residing in the Crown dependency will be closed on the 1st of October. Amex waving goodbye to the Isle of Man. If you're an Amex user, have you had that letter? Just if you want to redact it and just send me it, we can just put that on record as to how that is. Remember, tomorrow we're talking about children on the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man Children's Champion will be on, Kerry Sharp, MLC, and also the DHSC Minister, Laurie Hooper, will be. Kerry Sharp, Children's Champion, is to look after the welfare and monitor what happens with disadvantaged, at-risk children. We'll also look at adoption and fostering on the Isle of Man, and also the fact, what's going to happen to that position. There's been some recent manoeuvring politically about what's going to happen to the Children's Champion, so it's very kind of apposite that tomorrow Kerry Sharp will be on. And if something you want to talk about, perhaps you are somebody who fosters or somebody who wants to adopt, then it will be good to hear from you if you've got any thoughts on the matter. I remember years and years ago, Mannin Line, it was early 2000s, we had, was it called McCaw's at the time, the Manx Association of Children Adoption and Welfare Society. We actually released, we shouldn't do it now, but we released 88 balloons from Douglas Head because that was the amount of children who were waiting for foster parents on the Isle of Man. So we'll find out some numbers tomorrow. Kerry Sharp and Laurie Hooper talking about children on the Isle of Man. Victory Cafe in Craignabar, chock-a-block with visitors today. They can't get home. Despite us having 3 boats. What's the problem? Big wind farms don't work effectively, though I say they are a total con. Your opinion on 600, Manx Will, that is. As for the New World Order, oh crikey, the WHO have already stated that with their travel virus passport forcing you to have a jab or stay at home, compliance will be required, says Des. Which pile do I put you on, Des? Are you the conspiracy theorist people or the realist people? Because everybody thinks the other is the other pile. The UK monarchy own and grant permission for wind turbines, gas pipe laying and the exploration to the tune of $5 billion a year. What, they pay us or we pay them? Any reaction, by the way? What do you think about that Jersey initiative? £3,500 subsidy to buy a new or used electric vehicle. Reading between the lines, I think that's going to be a lot of used electric vehicles heading over to Jersey because, obviously, range isn't that much of a problem on the Channel Island of Jersey. Is it illegal to park a real car in an electric car space? What do you mean by real car, Deb? That's it. So tomorrow, Kerry Sharp, Laurie Hooper on Children on the Isle of Man. Thanks to Howie Kane on the phones today. Thanks to you. Stand by for Christine on the way after 1.
WINT